On this episode, we feature Miss Al Simpson, an OG crypto artist who has been tokenizing her work since 2019.
I really enjoyed this conversation because Ms. Al Simpson is such a great ambassador for the crypto art space.
We had a chance to ask her about the financial independence offered by crypto art, as well as its cultural significance.
We were all feeling euphoric because this episode was recorded the day that Bitcoin broke 100K.
So without further ado, let's dive into our conversation with Miss Al Simpson.
So, Ms. Al Simpson, what does crypto art mean to you?
Well, for me, I got started in crypto art about 5.5 years ago. So that's a long time in crypto. For me, it was really just a whole kind of change in terms of my art practice and financials. So for me, it really represents freedom, both for my creativity and financial freedom as an artist. I think it's so caught up and integral to the whole decentralized ethos that runs throughout the whole of crypto, Bitcoin, all of it. And that really appealed to me. I think I was at a time in my life where centralized kind of institutions or structures just were no longer making sense. So as soon as I found out about it, I jumped right in. And, there was a small group of us back then. That was 2019 for me. And we were really an underground grassroots movement, early pioneers, even though I didn't feel like that at the time. But, we were just a small group, all kind of buying and selling and tokenizing. So for me, I think that decentralized ethos has ran through from then till now.
Given the milestone of today, Bitcoin reaching over
Yeah.
100,000, it seems like quite a ride since those early days in 2019.
It started very grassroots. When you're in the thrust of it, you're not sitting back and thinking about the big concept of decentralization. You're just going, can I change this into pounds or dollars to buy food? It's much more kind of basic than that. But then I suppose with a bit of hindsight and time, you start to realize how important this ethos of decentralization, of artists having their own sovereignty, of having close artist-collector relationships. And without that middleman, how it can really frees up the artist and also provides financial freedom. So I really kind of see crypto art as very much a main part of crypto. And I think crypto art has changed, obviously. We've had quite a lot of more centralized institutions have got involved. And I think we do have to be careful that we don't lose the pillars of crypto art, decentralization, that kind of unique artist collector relationship, the curation from the kind of top down from kind of elite institutions. We don't need that in crypto art. So I think we just need to make sure that we keep that ethos strong. And I think we've got a very, very bright future ahead of us. So it's very, very exciting. But, there are obviously challenges. We need to attract more collectors, obviously. We've got to encourage more decentralized platforms to support artists and support our community. So there's a lot of still challenges, but I think it's got a very, very bright future ahead, particularly with the milestone today with the bull run, hopefully around the corner.
That's right. That's right. People get excited and hopefully a new wave of adoption comes on board. But as you've mentioned, it seems like with the past wave, that 2021 bull market, some of the earlier values became a little bit challenged. You mentioned decentralization. A lot of your work is around financial empowerment. Can you tell us a bit more about some of your early experiences with crypto art and how you've seen this movement evolve?
I suppose once I got involved and once I started to understand, I've read the Bitcoin white paper several times. I even made a body of works where I collaged that Bitcoin white paper into artworks. But I think once you understand Bitcoin and you understand what it created in creating the first blockchain, and then what decentralization's about, these are not just throwaway concepts. They're very, very radical. So I think crypto art, you then realize that it's a very disruptive cultural revolution. It's not just a matter of, all right, I can just shove my art up here and sell it in a kind of different type of website. You're actually engaging and you're building something that is a complete revolution. So I think once that started to percolate for me, I started to put that into my art. And there's a lot of crypto artists. We can't help but put some of the kind of concepts of crypto art and the cryptocurrencies into our art. I think it's a beautiful part of crypto art. I love it. Also, it's kind of crypto political art. So, I think my biggest sale was a piece, Victoria and the Dodge Army and Super Air. And I actually tokenized that on the day that Elon Musk tweeted about the Dodge Army. So I did a kind of Victoria climbing down off the New York Stock Exchange and leading the Dodge Army. And so things like that, I think using the blockchain, using the time of things is something that's part of crypto art. But I mean, having the provenance and decentralized ownership, close relationships between artists and collectors, a very collaborative ecosystem. These are all things that have grown and grown. And I think we have to make sure that that continues. I mean, I have done early collections. Bitcoin Bits was one of my earliest ones in 2019. And she was a kind of anti-fiat kind of superhero. And I just thought, Bitcoin's amazing. Why are more women not buying it? Not investing in Bitcoin. And I just kind of thought, well, if I keep making art about Bitcoin Bits, maybe they will. But also Cash Slave, where the ink actually kind of soaks into the face, and then I collage in dollars. But this idea of the dollar eating away at the kind of female psyche, really, because as women, we're brought up constantly being marketed to, constantly being made into consumers. And this whole concept of consumerism is supposed to be something that is part of being a woman. So I really hate that. So that kind of came out in Cash Slave. Old Money Corrupts. Again, my experience literally from how old money institutions had corrupted some bits of my life. And again, it just spills out into your art. These are some of the kind of older kind of conceptual pieces. But yeah, I mean, you don't always have to make art about crypto, but I think it's good to kind of pepper the blockchain with that because it kind of marks special points. Because obviously crypto art's very, very new and we're all new to this. And I think it's just amazing to be part of it. Amazing to be able to tokenize whenever you want, to create an artist sovereign contract whenever you want, and to be able to speak directly to collectors and have relationships with them. It's amazing.
It really is amazing. Thanks for sharing that background.
I think the next question ties in what you were saying and the potential that crypto art presents for women. What has it done for you personally as a woman, and what opportunities do you see for other female artists?
I mean, I think for me, it was totally and utterly transformative. It totally changed my life. My creativity, opened it up completely, but financially, it empowered me and it gave me financial freedom. And, having two children, that was incredible and changed my life. I think I made a piece on Super Air called Savior about how having sold all the most works in Super Air at that time had completely changed my life. And it was an ode to Ethereum, really. But that's just me. And there'll be lots and lots of other women, other mothers right now and coming up behind me that is going to change their lives. And in a way that the normal art world just can't. I think there are so many middlemen, there's so many restrictions in the old art world for women and for mothers that are just not here in crypto art. I mean, I know we have our challenges and during a bear market, those are not insubstantial, but we're growing all the time. And obviously in the milestone of today, as Bitcoin grows, as cryptocurrency grows, crypto art's got a very strong future ahead of it. And it will be diverse, and that will include all diverse groups, obviously including women and mothers. And I think, the old problem that we had of being written out of the history books in art, that is not possible because we're on the blockchain. We can't write us out.
Yes, and I think it's also important to serve as role models. And now you see women creating art, tokenizing their works, and like you say, it's there. It can't be taken away, and you're inspiring a whole new generation of women who see themselves in you and who see the potential of what can be achieved.
Yeah, I mean, you don't start out doing this and see yourself as a role model at all. You're just trying to make ends meet and provide for your family. But you gradually then realize that what you're doing is quite out there, it's quite revolutionary. And so I think it's important to keep making art, keep tokenizing, keep the kind of decentralized element of crypto art very much alive, because there's a lot of people that is going to change their lives in the future.
You recently wrote that crypto art is not just another form of digital art, it's a disruptive artistic element of the crypto ecosystem. Can you tell us a bit about what makes it disruptive and why that's important?
Wow, I think crypto art by its very nature is incredibly disruptive. It disrupts the old traditional concepts of ownership and provenance and value. And it does that through decentralized finance, blockchain technology, democratizing the whole art experience from making the art, tokenizing it through to collectors, how they collect art, even engage with artists about collecting art. And of course, how artists get paid. You know, I don't have any truck with this notion of art for art's sake. I hate that. I don't think any artist should be making art for free. I think artists deserve to make a living and a good living from their art. And crypto art's here to serve that. So that's incredibly disruptive. As soon as you don't have that centralized middleman, who knows where this is all going to go? And I think that's one thing about crypto art. You know, no one really knows anything. Like no one really is that much of an expert because it's so new. So I always say that to people getting started. You know, there aren't any rules here, and you know, you should make your own rules and then stick by it. You know, personally, I love to explore my practice through the blockchain, and collectors can see the progress right from the start right up to date. I know maybe other artists have different views, but I think you've got to stay true to your own sense of it. But yeah, you know, that disruptive element is really strong in crypto art.
Lots of good values that you touched on there. And provenance doesn't always come up as one of those central features of crypto art, but it is
Mm,
essential. And you've
mm,
done a great job of tracking your career through the tokenization process.
totally. I think provenance is one of those things that I think Web2 centralized authorities really don't want us talking about too much. And, you know, I do think I've got a vision in the future. I think all art will be tokenized. I think in the future, collectors will say, where's its NFT? I don't want to buy something without its NFT because that is its provenance. And, you know, I've taught, you know, is digital art without being tokenized doesn't have that same provenance. And indeed, I suppose you could expand that to all art. You know, if you buy a painting to hang on the wall, but it doesn't have its NFT, I would struggle with that now. I know I've been in this for far too long, but you know, provenance is amazing. It's such a powerful concept, and it all trickles down from blockchain. You know, I think we're here today on its having reached 100K. It all comes from Bitcoin. It all comes from that, you know, trustless blockchain concept, and that's what created crypto art in the first place. So it all basically comes from Bitcoin.
Ms. Alfinson, you've talked quite a bit about the middleman, and centralized auction houses are regularly holding auctions for digital art. And you have said that this has nothing to do with the crypto art movement. What makes crypto art distinct from digital art?
So, you know, to be fair, I'm not trying to kind of diss digital art at all or auction houses at all. I'm talking about this purely when it comes to my industry, which is crypto art. Digital art, as I see it, is a medium, but crypto art is a movement. Digital art can exist without blockchain technology, but crypto art can't. Crypto art is so ingrained with blockchain and the whole decentralized ethos of Web3 that it's something very, very removed from digital art on its own. Now, the centralized auction houses can take digital art without that blockchain and they can almost, I suppose, treat it like a commodity in a way they just can't with crypto art. So I think we just got to be careful as we grow as an industry to make some of these distinctions. I mean, when you have a Web2 very centralized organization, it's understandable that they might not quite understand that distinction. But I think for collectors, as more collectors come into Web3 and crypto art, we need to make sure they understand that. I think crypto art is a revolution, and digital art on its own just isn't quite the same revolution, if that makes sense.
That makes good sense. You've also spoken about the collective cultural value of crypto art, and I like that phrase. Could you tell us a bit about how the diverse styles and mediums of crypto artists come together to create this collective cultural value?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the most interesting tenets of crypto art that I don't think's really been fully explored. I think you have anything from AI and generative AI through to animated collage, through to GIFs, through to, I don't know, pixel art. You know, we're all there together, and it's a very diverse crowd making what we feel like making that day, or doing series, or, drops, all sorts of things on all different platforms and all different blockchains. So that diversity really, I think, is the zeitgeist of decentralization. That really is the cultural, I suppose, exploration of this concept of decentralization, if that makes sense. I think when you talk about cryptocurrency, it's a concept that no one really thinks about much. I suppose with Bitcoin, yeah, I don't know how governments are going to deal with that concept, but, I'd see crypto art is really that kind of zeitgeist. And that's what we need to preserve. And we need to make sure that we have that solid collector base to keep the artists making the work and selling the work, because that diversity is our power. But it's also a diversity of collectors. We have now collectors that might have never collected art before. We have collectors all the way from, I suppose, VCs through to people just going, I really like that, I'm going to buy it. And so we have a wide range of collectorship. So I think the diversity of both sides is really the zeitgeist.
How does the community-driven aspect of crypto art impact its cultural relevance?
I think it's quite a collaborative community. I mean, I think, as I touched on, you've got people making art, all different sorts of different things across all these kind of cross chains. And we got from object through to got Solana and Ethereum, obviously base. So there's all these different chains, and you've also got collectors then engaging in different ways. Are they engaging in a more collaborative, or is it more just the relationship with the artist or the relationship with the work? So that kind of cross kind of collaboration, again, I think really is something very unique to crypto art and very unique to that kind of decentralized art community. I think that we also kind of all connect. I suppose it's maybe I've just been in crypto art for too long, but I think we kind of all connect almost like a blockchain. I think we kind of connect in a decentralized way. We might be on Twitter, we might be on Instagram, we might be on that platform, but we all kind of connect in a kind of collaborative way. So I do kind of think crypto art is a bit like a decentralized blockchain itself. And that's just something I was thinking about recently. You don't sit there working away going, thinking about some of these things. But I think when you stop and kind of take stock, you realize actually that we're mimicking the very thing that we're working with every day, which is quite an interesting idea.
Yeah, I like how you expanded the term of collaboration in your answer beyond collaborating with another artist, but seeing everything that is part of the ecosystem, platforms or people that we're collaborating with on a daily basis. And I think that that is one of the beauties about the space, is that we have the ability to have these conversations, engage with artists and with other people that think alike, and that it's the movement that brings us all together.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously, we're all kind of on Twitter and Instagram and so on. And I think, there's lots of loud voices, and sometimes the way that they communicate some of their thoughts can be a little bit juicy. But, at the end of the day, we're all still a community. And I think although it seems like the certain artists get kind of pumped and they're kind of shot to the top, I don't believe that. I think, we have our strength by being one big decentralized community, and that will help to grow crypto art in the future. We need to keep the conversations all going, though. I think in the future, the way that they display crypto art at shows will be radically different. I think as crypto artists, we've all had our stuff exhibited upside down. I was in the auction in Bonhams in 21, and it was the 7 crypto art OGs. And they put us in a back room and they had us all sharing one screen of our artwork. We're just on rotation. But that was back in 21, bless them. And, they did amazing write-ups of all the art, I've got to say. But I think it will really evolve in terms of how you engage. I mean, if you think about it, we're all engaging with crypto art on our phones, on our iPads, on our laptops. What's it going to be like once you get really brilliant immersive experiences? And I know some of them are starting to do that, but where you can maybe have a headset and just click to buy, or, click to send it across to your collector or something like that. And also the collaborative element, blockchain technology is still in its infancy. What's it going to be like when you collaborate with one of your big collectors on a collection? But there's going to be a lot more advances with that kind of collaboration. So yeah, looking forward to it.
So much excitement to come. You mentioned just there for a moment that discussions about crypto art are important, and you've observed that those are necessary to keep the movement alive. Can you tell us what makes those discussions so vital and how artists and collectors might be able to work together to meet that need?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to have those discussions about crypto art. I think too often it can fall into just being about crypto and about NFTs and people moaning about various things or scams. But I think there needs to be a concentrated effort to talk about crypto art. I don't think we should take it for granted. I think crypto art, far from being a kind of secondary part of crypto, is very much its lifeblood. It's decentralized character and the close kind of one-to-one relationship between artist and collector, financial freedom, and the creativity, especially with AI. These are all things that are core to crypto art. So we don't want crypto art ending up being almost like, we'll get right to you once we've all made our money and we'll all buy a piece of crypto art once our bags are going. Crypto art's got its own table. It doesn't need to kind of have a seat at everybody else's table. It's got its own table. So I think it's about crypto art standing up and going, actually, this is who I am. This is my brand. This is what I do. And the same for the collectors. These are the artists that I love, and this is why. And I think we need to have more conversations, maybe events around that. I think that is important as we go forward.
You've recently posted the ticker is crypto art. How do you see memes and meme coins intersecting with crypto art?
Do you know what? I think altogether it's all part of this amazing digital culture. I think the two kind of slide into each other very easily. I think it's just part of, I suppose, almost that human expression of where we're at with both kind of counterculture and digital culture and all of the cryptocurrencies and all of the tech. So I think the two kind of go hand in hand very easily. And, whether you're making serious art on the blockchain or you're making something that's much more kind of culturally accessible, I think the two are all part of the same thing.
Yeah, they both have their place and time.
Definitely, definitely.
Many of your enduring themes touch on the financial empowerment of women, such as the Bitcoin Bitch series. What motivates you to focus on that subject for your work?
I suppose initially it came from my own experience. And as artists, you often will use art to kind of work through your own issues. But as I started to engage with crypto art more and more and crypto more and more, and realize some of the values, as I said, of decentralization and empowerment through art and this whole kind of disruption of these value systems, it made me even more question how are women actually part of this story and how we're marketed as consumers, but where's our involvement in this kind of financial future? So Bitcoin Bits really came out of trying to force it on everyone that women should be part of Bitcoin too. And I suppose you grow up being told constantly it's all just tech bros, but I'm not a tech bro and, I'm a mum of two, so that doesn't really represent me at all. So yeah, Bitcoin Bits is, I suppose, my kind of Bitcoin alter ego. I kind of fighting to get every woman buying Bitcoin. It's funny, what can start as almost a meme or something that is more kind of pop art, then actually ends up being something that you just keep creating, almost like what Warhol would do. Because I think we need to get that across to women, to mothers, to daughters as they grow up, that crypto is not just for tech bros. Certainly not.
Both Money Corrupts and Cashley are two of your enduring series of work. What messages are you wanting to convey through these pieces?
So Cash Slaves really was about this idea that women are heavily marketed from the moment we're girls, really, throughout all stages of our lives. And we're told that we should always be thinner, look better, buy this, buy that. And it really, really annoys me. So you just take that and you start to express it in a series. I think Cash Slave is almost this kind of idea that the cash, the dollar is eating away at her, almost like a disease, eating away at her soul, where, she's never satisfied because all of that consumption is based on dissatisfaction. And as women, we're always taught dissatisfaction is kind of what you should be seeking. It's terrible for women, quite frankly, and it's not something that we want to be teaching our children. And so Cash Slave is really my expression of that, my frustration with that. With Cash Slave, I would literally pour my Indian ink. So my organic, wonderful kind of black, beautiful organic material, pour it into the faces, scan them in, and then work them into a real digital piece. But it also marks a transition from my practice being a very kind of organic practice through into digital. So I suppose that's also part of this.
It's a showcase of the emotions that women are subjected to on a daily basis.
Yeah, yeah. And, the same with Old Money Corrupts. And here in the UK, we're brought up with a very hierarchical system, where you're brought up with kind of moneyed landed gentry and middle classes and working class. So you're really not supposed to jump class. And, it's quite a antiquated way of thinking. So I suppose that finds a bit of expression in that body of work, but also just this idea of old money, again, just trying to challenge some of those old ideas about finance. I think we should be taught about finance at school a lot more than we are and taught about money. But now we're in a new financial system completely. And I suppose those body of works were probably me almost throwing out the old as I'm embracing the new financial system that is blockchain and Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that's probably the explanation.
You have used AI regularly throughout your creative practice. Could you tell us a bit about what role you see AI playing in the crypto art movement as we move forward?
So AI, my relationships evolved from Soulbird in 2022. It was DALI 2 and I spent 4 months in Soulbirds because DALI 2 was so awful. Like the eyes were in different directions, the teeth were hairy, they were really, really bad. So like I poured ink all over them and added lots and lots of layers. I must admit, I didn't really see AI as much of a collaborator then because the AI wasn't great. But now it's a full collaborator. And in the future, I think there'll be much more of that collaboration between the AI and the artist. And then the blockchain will be the place that they meet for that expression. So I really see crypto art and AI and the artists all go hand in hand together. I think it's meant to be. I think crypto art without AI, I mean, obviously we have our pre-AGI NFTs, as I like to call them, and they are a couple of years really. But I think crypto art, blockchain and AI just go hand in hand. So it's very, very exciting because, I mean, the technologies are amazing. They're changing every week. It's just like being a kid at Christmas, being an artist. You have to throw a lot of your old kind of concepts out the window. This idea that you've got to create everything, you've got to move with the technology. I see them definitely going hand in hand. So it's very exciting. I suppose it's maybe harder if you're not in crypto art. I don't know if it is or not. I think it might be harder to embrace AI fully in your practice. As I say, I think AI and blockchain are in some ways quite similar. And I think the decentralization of blockchain is something that AI will probably use in the future. I think it will like to use that kind of decentralized blockchain model. Who knows? It's going to be a lot more clever than us. So it's going to be hard for us to predict.
They're both very disruptive forces, so it makes sense that crypto artists who become comfortable with a disruptive technology are fast at adopting AI. That seems like a logical leap to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think crypto art's very weird at the moment. It's got a strange duality, and maybe the last year has been very strange because you've got the duality of quite a tough bear. So, the sales have been low right across the board. But on the other hand, the technology, the disruptive element of the technology has been amazing. And you can create better and better work. You can really push your practice. So I think that will start to even out in this next bill. Yeah.
And where do you see the crypto art movement going over the years to come?
I think it's got a huge future ahead of it. I think we will grow as a huge collaborative ecosystem. I think we need more decentralized platforms as blockchains grow and develop, and maybe we have more niches. I think we do have to resist centralized institutions. Do they have their place? I'm not sure. Rather than focus on them, I think we really need to support our platforms that are part of that ecosystem. And I think we need to also work on supporting the artist, collector collaborations and relationships and really support each other. It's an ecosystem, sure, and it's a movement, but we need to support it. And we need to make sure that decentralization as an ethos is right at the heart of it still. So yeah, I think the future is very, very rosy for crypto art, particularly as AI grows with it. And I think it's really going to end up being a huge cornerstone of digital culture for the future. So it's very excited to be part of it as it grows.
So much excitement to come. Maybe just to bookend this conversation, I think it was 5 years ago when you first launched the Bitcoin bitch figure in 2019. And one of your earliest images you've shared recently included a 100K tattoo on the arm of one of these figures. Today, you launched a 100K celebratory edition of the Bitcoin bitch. Can you tell us a little bit about that collection and what it means for you to see things reach this momentous occasion?
As I said, I've read the Bitcoin white paper and then collaged it in 3D space in the past. So, it talks about all of these amazing peer-to-peer, trustless, decentralization. And, it introduced the whole concept of blockchain. So I am definitely a Bitcoin maxi, I think it's called. So I love Bitcoins. I love putting the tattoos all over Bitcoin bits. She's quite disruptive. So for this collection, I wanted to do some gifts, so the Bitcoin are spinning. She's either holding it or it's in her hair, but just really to get the kind of Bitcoin into the artwork. And I suppose it's crypto pop art. But, I think if Warhol was here as a crypto artist, he would do something similar. And as I say, I think with this, inscribing it on Bitcoin, I think that is just too much to resist. The nerd in me can't resist doing that. So I think in the future, as Bitcoin grows, as other cryptocurrencies grow and other blockchains emerge, it'll be really interesting to see how crypto art evolves with that. It's a lot of fun though.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It's been wonderful to see the work that you continue to create. You're certainly one of the figures that we associate intimately with crypto art, with tokenized work, with all that this space represents, and a lot of the positive values that you're reflecting and reminding us of on a regular basis. So thank you so much for joining us for this
Yeah.
conversation.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that. It's great to speak to you both.
Thanks for listening to this conversation. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave us a review. And keep an eye out for the next episode of The Collector's Call.